Welcome to Want More with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay, where we bring you stories and insights at the intersection of justice and society. My name is Dr. Talia Moore, and I'm your host. Today, we'll be talking about the recent fires that took place in Southern California and those on the front line responding to the fires and the firefighters there. Really looking at the prisoners who are working the front line to respond to these horrific fires that impacted Southern California. Before we get going, I just want to say thank you for subscribing. Be sure to hit the button and share, like, and comment. All right. So, as many of you know, January 2025 started off literally in a firestorm. Southern California was greatly impacted by all of these fires. Communities were desecrated. People lost homes and unfortunately even lives in these incidents. And so I want to definitely acknowledge that, but I also want to talk about who was out there responding to these fires. Definitely recognizing our men and women who are firefighters by profession and trade, who work for different fire departments across the state and even the country, and actually the world, because we had firefighters coming out here from different countries as well. But I also want to talk about our front line that you may not be aware of, our prisoners who are fighting these fires. These inmate firefighters are part of a program that trains and employs incarcerated individuals to assist with wildlife suppression. They work alongside professional firefighters, putting their lives at risk to protect us, homes, also wildlife. Let's take a moment to understand how this program works. In California, the California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation, or CDCR, oversees the Conservation Fire Camp Program, commonly referred to as the Inmate Firefighter Program. The primary mission of the Conservation Fire Corps, or the Inmate Firefighter Program, is really to support state, local, and other federal government agencies as they respond to emergencies in fires, floods, and other natural disasters. Additionally, hand crews respond to rescue efforts on a local level as well. CDCR, in cooperation with the California Department of Forestry and Fire Protection, or CAL FIRE, which you're probably more familiar with, actually has these organizations in 25 counties throughout the state of California. All camps are minimum security levels, so these are not high risk offenders that we're talking about, but we're talking about low level offenders. And really, this program gives them an opportunity. One, it gives them a whole host of skills. It gives them some skills that they can definitely apply once they're released from custody, but it also really creates this kind of environment where they are, instead of taking from society, they're actually giving back. And so that's a great opportunity for these inmate firefighters. CDCR is responsible for the selection, the training of these inmate firefighters, as well as a 24-hour, 7 days a week supervision. So no worries, they're not going to fight fires and they're running off somewhere. No, they're under supervision. But again, these are low-level offenders, so that is not the heightened concern when we think about working with this group. To give you a little bit of historical context about how this program began, I wanted to just kind of touch on that. CDCR established this program dating back all the way to 1915. Really, there was a shortage of firefighters because the men at that time were off fighting a war, World War II, right? And so in their place, or in lieu of having those men who were traditionally in those positions, they actually created this program to employ firefighters who were inmates to respond to fires and natural disasters. But it's not just about fighting fires, right? These programs, again, provide a whole host of skills for the inmates, give them opportunities upon their release. And also, there's a small, I do want to say small, monetary compensation that is associated with the work that they're doing in this capacity. The camaraderie and sense of community and support that comes from these opportunities is one thing to acknowledge for sure. But there are obviously some risk. I mean, who's fighting fires, right? This is inherently, obviously, a dangerous job, putting your life at risk, going to save houses, buildings, and working to protect our wildlife preserves. And so these are some of the obvious challenges that our inmate firefighters encounter. Other challenges when we think about working with people who may have experienced trauma in other places is the fact that these fires may incite trauma or memories of some types of traumatic experiences for our inmate firefighters as well. So there is a kind of double-edged sword, if you will, when we think about the work and the position that these inmate firefighters take on. But really just kind of being aware of that, right? Altadena, the Palisades, all of these different fires and who was out there. We often don't acknowledge the inmate firefighters, even if you or you may not have even known about them. And so, I want you to kind of be mindful of that. And as we revision what is an inmate or who is an inmate and what kind of contributions they can make and they can have on society, really take that in that these men and women were putting their lives at risk to protect communities, people, and the places in which they reside. All right. So just to throw a question out there to you, right, and something to maybe chew on. Where do you stand in this? Are you in support of inmate firefighters coming to the aid and really to support professional firefighters in the fight against these horrific incidents that have happened in Southern California and in other places? Because let's not forget the Bay Area was inflamed a couple of years ago as well. And so these same individuals, under these same circumstances, we had people in these exact positions coming on our end in the Bay Area to fight fires as well. Or, and this could be the flip side, what are you thinking that they are being exploited for their cheap labor? And even though they are able to use those transferable skills in their professions outside of custody, they will probably never ever qualify to be an actual firefighter, just given their felony conviction. Just something to kind of think about. But regardless of where you stand on the issue, we definitely want to pay homage to those individuals, again, who were literally on the front line fighting these fires, working and serving to protect the life and the greater good of everybody. Challenge each of you to take this information with you, have it be into your communities, individually, or just in small collectives, and share. Talk about it and educate each other. Thank you for tuning in to Want More with Dr. Moore, the criminologist of the Bay. If you found this episode informative, be sure to subscribe, like, share, and even provide a comment. Until next time, educate, empower, and enact the changes you want to see. Want more.